for joining us, and welcome back. And now thank you to everybody who will be watching the YouTube video later. So we're so glad that you have tuned in. You're watching our YouTube videos. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, and then you'll get a little notice every time we upload a new video. We have videos of every single Sunday gathering we have had for 3.5 years now, something like that. So lots of videos to watch. Okay, so happy birthday to the USA. Happy birthday to the USA. Happy birthday, dear America. Happy birthday to you. Okay, so July 4th, Thursday. Woohoo! It was the United States of America's 243rd birthday. You know, I thought about 243 years, and I thought, you know, I've actually been alive more than 25% of the United States' history. I thought that's pretty interesting. You know, I've seen a quarter of her history. You know, a lot of people have issues about the country, you know, taking pot shots at our country and talking about how terrible the situation is in our country right now. You know, it's kind of like a sport. And everybody sort of like participates in it. Like we have permission just to badmouth the country a lot. But I love our country, and you know, we're not involved in any major war right now. And in my view, any year, any day without a major war going on is a pretty good year. So I think, you know, I lived through a lot of war in my life. You know, I became of age during the Vietnam War, and I've lived through all of that, and I know we still have military involved in the Middle East, but things do seem to be winding down, and there are no major wars going on.
In the Korean War. You were born.
I was born during the Korean War, yeah, and but I came of age. I wasn't aware of the Korean War because I was not cognizant of it. And so we celebrate our birthday here in the USA. Good birthday, no war going on. That was Thursday. I did the traditional thing, went to some friends, had a big backyard barbecue. It was fun, ate too much, but, you know, drank too much, and that's what you're supposed to do, I think. That was really good. I did not see the fireworks. Okay, yeah. You know, fireworks at 4th of July in San Francisco, always a little problematic because it's frequently foggy. You have fog to deal with. So we go to the fireworks here on New Year's Eve, and we do better than them. It's usually better. Anyway, okay, now another interesting thing to know is that we have this day that we set aside that we celebrate as the birthday of our country. Not every country has that. The United Kingdom, they have no day to celebrate as a birthday or any like Nation Day. They do try to work that into the birthday of the Queen. So when the Queen has her birthday, they celebrate that day as a Nation Day, but not every country has this day that they celebrate like a birthday. And so we do, so I think that's really interesting. And I think, like all good birthdays, I think a good country, a good person having its birthday deserves a good birthday present. And I think we, the A Course in Miracles community, have given this country a tremendous birthday present this year. Because on July 5th, the New York Times produced an in-depth feature article that appeared on their website, and then the next day it was in the newspaper itself. And it was all about A Course in Miracles. I mean, it was about Marianne Williamson running for president, but the article was really more about A Course in Miracles. The title of the article is The Curious Mystical Text Behind Marianne Williamson's Presidential Bid. So the title isn't about Marianne Williamson running for president. Actually, it's about this curious, metaphysical, mystical, they call it mystical text that's behind her bid for president. It was a 3,000-word article. That's a long article. That's 3,000 words. That's quite a bit. It had a lot of pictures, and it had a picture of Helen Schuckman in it. It had a picture of the Course in Miracles, you know, the book, on a table. It had some pictures of Marianne. It was written by a Sam Kestenbaum. I don't know who that is. I think he must be a staff writer for the New York Times. And, of course, they talked all about A Course in Miracles. And this is one of the things he said early in the article. It says, the book drew from older traditions like Christian Science and New Thought, a related 19th century metaphysical movement. It also incorporated Freudian language. Reality, it taught, was illusory. Conflicts dissolve when one realizes the power of love and forgiveness. This change in perception, the book's narrator says, produces miracles. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Wasn't sarcastic, didn't make fun of it. He actually tried to sum it up in some kind of meaningful way that sounded appealing. It sounded appealing. And we have been saying this about Marianne Williamson's presidential bid, is that it's just going to bring a lot of publicity to A Course in Miracles. And, you just don't get better publicity than a full-length feature story in the New York Times, complete with pictures about the discipline. So, before I go on, I really want everybody to know that this is not an endorsement for Marianne Williamson for president. Actually, we as a church cannot do that. And I wouldn't do that, because I don't even know if I will vote for Marianne Williamson. I'm not encouraging anybody to vote for Marianne Williamson, so let's get clear about that. But I am encouraging people just to note, your Course in Miracles students, just note what's going on here with our community and with the visibility of our spiritual discipline. Please silence your cell phone.
I'm sorry.
That's okay, dear. Marianne Williamson has done a tremendous amount to put A Course in Miracles in front of people in the spotlight for decades and decades. Her book, A Return to Love, was first published in 1992. So you got to get that's what, 25 years, 27 years ago. My math isn't so good. 27 years ago. So for 3 decades, about 3 decades, that book has been around. And I remember when that book first came out. And, lest we forget, the subtitle of that book, the full title of the book is, it's Reflections on the Principles of A Course in Miracles. So it's A Return to Love, a reflection on the principles of A Course in Miracles. So there was no hiding from anybody what that book was about when it first came out. And as I said, I remember when it first came out. And we had the Community Miracle Center. We were over on Market Street, just like we were for many, many years. And there had been a little lull, let's say, in the talk about A Course in Miracles. There had been some, interest, and there was a little peak, and there seemed to be that there was this little trough going on. And there was some talk about, maybe A Course in Miracles, was new, and it kind of swept what it was going to sweep, and now it's going to fade into whatever obscurity. And then all of a sudden, Marianne, who was this known lecturer from Southern California, we were aware of her, and I heard that she had written a book and it got some major publishing, and then I heard that she was going to be on the Oprah Winfrey Show, and Oprah was a big deal. And so I remember watching it, and I believe the first time I watched it, I was alone. And I remember watching it, and I said, holy shit. It was one of those holy shit moments. I said, this is going to change everything. And it did. And it did. It put A Course in Miracles in the spotlight, and it was, and more people started talking about A Course in Miracles. The sales of A Course in Miracles went up, and just the interest in the discipline and the acceptance of it all, it just skyrocketed. And Marianne continued publishing books. The next year she published A Woman's Worth. Now that one wasn't directly about A Course in Miracles, it was about women coming into their power. But then the very next book that she published was a book called Illuminata. That was a big bestseller for her. That was in 1994. And that one, very spiritual, very full of prayers and rituals. That you get a very religious book, actually. And actually, I have my original copy of Illuminata, which Marianne signed for me. Marianne signed it for me. I went to see her at the Crystal Wade bookstore when she was there, and she was signing. This is one of the original versions of Illuminata, really printed well, really a quality book. Wonderful paper, and it's thoughts, prayers, rites of passages, rituals. It's really an inspired book. I actually like that book a lot. And it's used a lot. People performing weddings and stuff will take the wedding information from Illuminata and use it. I think it's great. I wanted to talk a little bit, though, about this historic perspective of A Course in Miracles. So, A Course in Miracles has always gotten like boosts in popularity and exposure from the press and from unexpected sources. It actually got a real big boost when it was first published by getting a cover story done on it by New Realities magazine. New Realities magazine had previously been Psychics magazine, but it was a popular nationwide journal that was circulated to a lot of people who were interested in spiritual New Age things. And they published this cover article about A Course in Miracles, and it has a very interesting title, the article. And we have a copy of it. I should have brought it. I didn't think of it. We have a copy of it in the office in our display case. It came out in 1977, so this is just like 6 months or so after A Course in Miracles had been published. And the title of the article is Simple, Dumb, Boring Truths and A Course in Miracles. So, and if you read the article, it's actually about how there's kind of nothing new in A Course in Miracles. It's all the stuff that's always been said before, but it's being packaged in this interesting way that will appeal to a lot of people. So it was a positive article, but they wanted to emphasize how it was really saying the same things that all the perennial philosophies had always said. So that gave A Course in Miracles this huge, huge boost. And then a couple years later, in 1979, Gerald Jampolsky published Love is Letting Go of Fear. And the subtitle of that book, I made a mistake. I don't know what the subtitle of that book. It was something about A Course in Miracles. And that came out in 1979. And that was really popular. So A Course in Miracles got the boost of that book and that popularity. Now, come ahead here now to 1992. Marianne Williamson publishes A Return to Love. She appears on the Oprah Show. And I got to hand it to her that there's a quotation from that book that's made it into the popular culture, and history. And it made it into history in a strange way. It made it into history because it got misattributed to Nelson Mandela. So for some reason, everybody thought Nelson Mandela had said this at his inauguration. And the truth is, he never did say it during his inauguration. But his name associated with this quotation carried it everywhere. Nelson Mandela was really popular at the time, so everybody started and then I remember us in the Course in Miracles community, we looked at the quote and we go, that was Marianne Williamson's quote. But then we figured, no, he must have read it during his inauguration. He didn't read it during his inauguration. It was just plain misappropriated. He never said it. But you all know this quote, and I think that any quote from an author or a book to make it this far into the psyche of our collective consciousness, that's huge. And it's this one. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. And that's a wonderful, amazing quotation. A lot of people know it. It's from A Return to Love. It's from Marianne Williamson. I remember her, if you ever get a chance to watch that Oprah show, where that very first time when she's on, you can see she's a little nervous at the beginning of the show. I mean, this is it was a big deal. Her book just came out. Oprah bought 1,000 copies of it, gave them to all these people that launched it, and created it a bestseller immediately. And she was great. And as I said, it really helped. It was a big boost to the Course in Miracles community. Not that long afterwards, actually, partly because of the success of A Return to Love, we went kind of through the dark ages in the Course in Miracles movement because there was this big legal battle. The copyright controversy started in 1996. The copyright case started in 96. The controversy actually started just a year or two after Marianne Williamson's book. And, you know, again, there was this talk about, I don't know if A Course in Miracles is going to make it. You know, maybe its time is done. And then what happened? You know, 2003, Gary Renard published The Disappearance of the Universe. Disappearance of the Universe, again, this big book, bestseller. Suddenly, everybody was reading A Course in Miracles again, talking about, oh, I finally understand A Course in Miracles. Gary Renard's books really helped me. I had such troubles with it before, and now I read his book, and I get what it's teaching. And an interesting thing about Gary's book, too, if you read it, like, apparently Arden and Persa, the two entities that he talks to, first appeared to him in 1992, which is the year Marianne Williamson's book was published. So, you know, there's this like thread that sort of weaves through. So, The Disappearance of the Universe then puts Course in Miracles back in the spotlight again. Its popularity booms again. Maybe a little bit of a waning there. And then all of a sudden this new teacher, Gabrielle Bernstein, comes on the scene. Gabrielle, different, younger. She was, you know, younger. She had been inspired by Marianne, but also other things. She published her first book, Adding More, I-N-G, To Your Life, 2009. 2 years later, Spirit Junkie, 2011. And then 2013, a real more A Course in Miracles focused book, though she mentions A Course in Miracles in all her books. In 2013, though, May Cause Miracles. And again, A Course in Miracles now gets reintroduced to a new generation, a really younger generation. Marianne Williamson spoke at two Community Miracle Center conferences. She spoke in 2000, she spoke in 2011. Gabrielle Bernstein spoke at our 2013 conference in Chicago. And I remember I had a few moments with Gabrielle Bernstein in Chicago, and I just really wanted to thank her for introducing A Course in Miracles to a younger generation. And I said, you know, people have been talking about how A Course in Miracles was on the wane and it's fading, and you're bringing it to this whole new generation. I just really want to thank you. And I started to tear up a little bit. And I just remember that moment. And what I remember is there's always been this idea that A Course in Miracles is going to fade. You know, the naysayers say it's going to fade, but then something happens to suddenly boost it. And I see that is what's going on, again, right now, with Marianne Williamson. And again, I'm not endorsing Marianne Williamson for president, get that clear? But with Marianne Williamson running for president, there is all this talk about A Course in Miracles. I watched a little, she had like an 8-minute interview on CNN that was just on a day or two ago. Again, the person interviewing her says, you know, you've been associated with this book, A Course in Miracles. I want to know, you know, and they asked her some question about it. Now, when Marianne Williamson gets asked about A Course in Miracles, she tends to downplay it. So, Marianne, if you ever listen to this talk, stop downplaying A Course in Miracles. Play it up. Play it up. You don't have to downplay it. But she'll always talk about how it's not a religion. It's really talking about universal spiritual themes. And she'll mention how she's really Jewish. And, you know, she segues. She doesn't want to focus too much on A Course in Miracles. But she'll address it, and she'll admit that it has inspired her, which is really good. But every time she does that, every time she like backs away and doesn't really like step forward into it, I think of the Bible story about how Peter denied Jesus 3 times before the cock crowed. Remember that? Yeah. You know, Jesus said, "You're going to deny me," and Peter said, "No, I'm not. Of course I'm not. We would never deny you." But then he fears for his life 3 times and tells the Romans and other people that he doesn't know who Jesus was. And somehow, I feel that Marianne does that. I think she's fearing a little bit for her political life, that it might not be the politically most expedient thing to come out too strong with this spiritual discipline, so she backs away a little bit from it. Not, you know, maybe that is the wise political move to be making, but I just think of that, and I challenge her to be right out there with A Course in Miracles. We know how important it has been to you and your life, and obviously the whole media does, because Time Magazine published a whole article about it. So I think you could actually play it as a strong suit and not have to avoid it and be a little bit afraid of it, which is what it seems like to me. So I think it's a birthday gift to our country. We've given the A Course in Miracles book to our country. And you know, think about it, how many, I know a lot of you here have probably given course books to people as gifts, and your big question is, I wonder if they'll ever read it. And I feel like, you know, we're giving America the A Course in Miracles book. I wonder if they'll read it. But I always know that what the Course says, that if the Course in Miracles is your discipline, you will read it at the right time. You know, you can't actually avoid it because we're not free to choose the curriculum. And that's the quote from the reading. As the Course emphasizes, you are not free to choose the curriculum or even the form in which you will learn it. You are free, however, to decide when you want to learn it. So that's maybe what's up for a lot of people in America right now, that maybe now is the when, that they are actually going to open this book and start reading it and studying it. I know that I'm an admin in a very large Facebook group on Facebook. You know, we've got like almost 15,000 members, and we've had a big influx of new members here over the past 3-4 weeks. And we figure, you know, the admins are talking, must be Marianne, this must be the Marianne effect, that people are turning on to A Course in Miracles. A lot of new A Course in Miracles students are coming, and I think this is, again, just another of those times, like it happened so many times in A Course in Miracles history, that just when people are saying, gee, I think the Course is on the decline. I heard that at the conference in Boston. Some very prominent A Course in Miracles teachers were saying and told me that it looks like A Course in Miracles is on the decline. And I said, I don't think so. I wouldn't count it out, you know, because somebody else is watching over all of this. And things happen. And it gets support. And right now, our presidential election is giving support. It's giving A Course in Miracles a national presence on the national stage, loud and clear and with good press. And I say, happy birthday, America. I hope you like your present. Please read it. That's all I got to say for today. Thank you very much.